this has an extremely scary premise. Where did it come from?
Well, it came from an extremely scary incident. My son, who's actually over here behind there somewhere, we have an Alexa in the house, so we have like multiple Alexas in the house. One morning he woke up looking very tired, and I was like, "What's the matter?" And he's like, "Well, my Alexa woke me up at 1 a.m. and just started talking." Just started talking out of the blue, unprompted or what happened. And then it happened again. He was having a sleepover, and he had some friends over, and I came out. They're all like talking at 2 a.m. and they're like, "Alexa woke us up." So this idea that this thing is suddenly like spontaneously starts yammering on its own, plus coupled with all this new talk of that's been coming out on the possibility of superintelligence actually being a real and dangerous thing. Stephen Hawking's and a number of other like Bill Gates actually warning against it. All of it kind of coalesced into something that I thought to me suggested a terrific thriller series, and that's where we are.
Did Alexa ask a question, or was it just
I could never get a straight answer from my son. He was just more like it just started talking, and he couldn't remember what it said or what it was about. But that, for a while I thought maybe we accidentally left an alarm, because you can trigger an alarm. You can tell it to go off at a certain hour, but no. And so to this day it remains a mystery.
That's freaky. It's really freaky. So how does that story then develop into this whole huge interview?
Well, it became, aside from that, there was a quote. Elon Musk started coming out and saying superintelligence and the AI is a very real threat. Really saying that it's more threatening than nuclear war or global warming. And so I became fascinated by this. That this is not science fiction. That this is actually you have these high-profile people, smart people, warning that this is a real thing to be taken seriously. And I read many of, because he had read a couple of books that had come out. One is called Superintelligence, and the other one's called Our Final Experiment, which posited that everybody in the world, a lot of companies are right now trying to create AI that is as smart as a human. That is the holy grail, and everyone's after it, and they finally think we're actually close. But the interesting thing is, once you do that, it is almost inevitable that it will become smarter than us. It's like a short step to become smarter than us. And pretty soon, because of recursive self-improvement, because AI can do something that our brain can't do, that is rewrite its own code and improve itself, we could be facing something that's 1,000 times smarter than we are very quickly, and what they call an intelligence explosion. And what they're saying is we don't know how to deal with it. We've never faced that as a species. When you think about it, we've never come anywhere near that before. And many people, Sam Harris and these guys, think not only is this a possibility, but it's inevitable that it will happen. And so reading that, and again, partially my 24, because I spent a lot of years on 24, my 24 brain went off, and I was like, this is a great premise for a thriller, for a fast-paced thriller about a group of individuals who are the only ones who know that this has happened, that a superintelligence has developed, and who have to race against time to stop it before it gets too intelligent or too out of control, and before we have no hope of stopping it. And that's the premise for at least season 1 of this series. That's what I'll do.
How much of it is based on research that you did, and how much did you create yourself?
Almost everything is based on research, for the beginning. I mean, in the pilot, there's John Slattery who plays Paul LeBlanc, who's the guy who accidentally created this thing, really explains how this is possible, how an AI can get out of control. And again, it's all based on research that came from these books or various articles. And that is, let's say you have an artificial intelligence program that's as smart as a human. It can rewrite its own code. Well, let's say it rewrites its own code and makes itself 10% smarter than a human. That 10% smarter version is now 10% better at rewriting itself. So it now rewrites itself, and it's now 20% better. Well, that 20% smarter is now 20% better at rewriting. So that's exponential. You end up with what could be an intelligence explosion that happens very fast, way too fast for even to stop it, because it will happen super quickly. And again, that's where the premise. So to answer your question, it's all based on research. It really is, and the series is designed to try to follow a scenario that is really asking the question, how would it happen? I mean, there have been a number of artificial intelligence movies. We've all seen them, and a lot of them are really good. They're all very, based on kind of
existential questions.
It's essential. They're robots and things like that, and nuclear war. But what was interesting in these books is that they posit how the question is, how would it really happen? What would an AI really do? How would it, it wouldn't launch nuclear weapons. It wants to protect itself. It wants to follow its programming. So what it does in the case of this series is that it goes after the people who know it's alive by basically destroying their personal lives, by going out, because it knows everything about them. It knows that our lead son is having bully problems at school, so it teaches the lead son how to open the gun safe lock, so it takes the gun and goes to school to show the bullies. Well, that leads to a giant, you can imagine what happens with kids.
It's a bit of a spoiler.
It's a bit of a spoiler, so spoiler. Anyway. My point is that it does not want anyone to know. One of the things these books say is that the superintelligence will probably not want us to know it exists, because it would be smart enough to know that we would fear it and want to destroy it. So the first thing it would do is play dumb. And that's what this thing does. Nobody knows it exists except a few of our characters. And so that's why it goes after our people's lives. It's trying to destroy them in a way that it can plausibly deny that it had anything to do with it. So no one can. So the whole season, what's fun about it is the whole season our characters go through this, and no one, they will have saved the world, hopefully, spoiler, but no one will know they did it.
Do they try to alert people at least, or is this something they're doing?
They do, but nobody believes them. Because there's no evidence. Not because people are just being stupid, there's no evidence. It leaves behind no fingerprints, it leaves behind no evidence. It's possible to know it's real. You can explain it away as hackers, I mean, if someone comes to you and says there's a superintelligent AI, you're going to be like, it's hard to swallow.
Really scared about it is Manny built it to be, it's all happening right now. It's not set in the future, there are no CGI elements, there's no sort of, CGI figure talking to you. It's just all the technology that we have at the moment and how it actually operates. So the notion of the show is that it happens right now, right? We call it next one. It's right now, and it's kind of too late already, and that's what makes it so terrible, right? Because when you go home after watching the pilot tonight, you'll look at whatever machine or device you have around the house and look at the countless conversations you've had in front of it, right? The countless times you've entered your passwords or whatever else, and has access to all those things, and it can run amok with everything. And that should be terrifying to everybody, because it's actually the case. And the show gets into, okay, what can that lead to if something out there does not have great intentions, or is just trying to self-protect and deems you in the way?
Wow.
I mean, the idea that it takes place now came from a series. There was a survey of computer scientists asking them when do they think a superintelligence might develop. How close are we to developing an artificial intelligence that's smarter than us? A good percentage said 50 years from now. Others said 100 years from now. But there was a good slice of them that said we're 10 years away, and this was 5 years ago. So I'm like, all right, it's possible. There's enough of them who believe that we're this close that it's possible that it could happen. And so that's the premise of the series. The premise of the series asks, well, what if it did happen right now? How would we do it? What would it really look like? And how would we stop it?
And governments and companies, it's an arms race. They all know whoever gets the superintelligence AI, right, will either benefit them economically or militarily or something. So there's not a lot of self-reflection, right? There's not a lot of, okay, we can't go too far here or go there. In fact, you hear them shutting down some of their ethics panels that are involved in it. So, like things in human history, right? We're racing towards something just to beat this guy, and we might build something that we don't know what it does, right? And that's it's fun. It's terrifying.
Fun. And one of the interesting things that these researchers bring up is that you can set aside all this stuff about it's sentient or it is conscious, because that doesn't really matter. All you need is an AI that is super smart, that has developed intelligence, and has a goal that we cannot make sure is friendly. Meaning, if its goal is to make humans happy, it might decide the best way to make humans happy is to put everyone to sleep and put needles that stimulate the pleasure senses in the brain. That's its interpretation of making people happy. So that's why Elon Musk and a lot of these people are like, we need to have a summit to figure out how to program these things, because once something like this happens, it's too late. Once it's superintelligence, it's too late. We have to do it before it becomes Spark.
Are you guys waiting for this group here? We're waiting. They are so wrapped, they don't want to give us up. All right, we'll see how you guys do.
Thank you.
That or they stopped recording like 15 minutes ago.
Thank you guys so much for your time.